discussing as we've been aware, rugby is happening everywhere.
Abel Musoke, who completes his tackle. Magomu, yet again, finds Angulo! And the offload is complete! The intercept goes to Paul Masandi! He will run!
That should be it! That should be it! Oh! That should be it! Oh my God, Namilango College! Very, very...
And after a while, looks like there is some life breathing to the Let's Talk Rugby podcast right here on Kratos. Looks like we are back and this time back for good. I am joined as always by Ruben in the former position. He retired from active rugby. He says it's an injury. We are here to determine because we don't see any doctor's report. But of course, we have another guest here with us today, and that is Dungu, properly kitted up in representing the Blue Army, a team I love to call second place RFC. Dungu, what's up? How you feeling, man?
Hi.
Yeah, you alright?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're ready for us to talk a few things here and there?
Yes, sure, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. Yes.
Yeah, you see he's smiling, and I know he's smiling as well, and we are all looking towards discussing a few things for the next about 15-20 minutes, and of course we'll be waiting to hear from you after the production. But before we get to the comments and everything, where to start? There's so much going on, Ruben and Jose. There's so much going on. I mean, there's a team that's unbeaten, that's hidden. There's a team that has the same number of points as Kids, that is Impies. Two Kids, 2 points. It is not funny. There's a team without a home, and that is Rams. Things are not happening quite right. Then there's a Monga side, which is very far from civilization, sometimes people want to say. So there's so much happening right now, and I actually don't know where to start from. But let's go with that team that is homeless. So how do you assure us that you are part of a super team without a home, Ruben? I want to start with you on that issue.
First of all, that's an issue that I actually like being very vocal about rugby topics, especially on social media, but that is one that I really kept quiet about because I'm sure there are so many underlying features there that we do not see, especially for those that don't dig in. I'm sure there is a bit of malice here and there because you cannot tell me for the time that Rams was at Makerere that they didn't know of their existence there, training, using the facilities and the number of fans they had there. So why is it all of a sudden that the team that was using it as their home ground is no longer, is actually, they've just figured it out, you should say. So it is very, very sad, I should say, and it's a shame to the sport and where we actually want to go going forward. But it also is an eye-opener for clubs that because most of the clubs that we actually have in Uganda in the top tier league do not have their own facilities, their own grounds. So in the event that the owner of those said facilities wants to change it into something else, let's say a mall, what is the backup plan for these clubs? What are they actually thinking about doing? So it's something that all clubs now need to put into consideration, and I think it could also act as a blessing in disguise because you see at this point maybe we can have rugby expanding beyond Lugogo and all.
Jose, before you comment about Rams, I know Ruben's side, but someone said something one time that it doesn't matter you as a tenant, even if you do not pay for your house for let's say 2 years, it's still not your house. It's for the landlord.
Yes.
So how does that relate with the Rams situation at the graveyard?
I think, like you said, there were tenants. Yes. I guess they were still using the facility, hoping to perhaps secure some funds and get some land of their own. But I guess it came as a shocker because out of the blue, they received an eviction letter and they were not to access the premises again. So I guess it was a big blow on their side because they had to quickly think of a way out, okay? So, but I sympathize with them so much because if the game we love is going down that trend, then it's really bad for us because I believe the first thing we all need are homes, or premises where to train at. And if we can't have that, then I don't know. If the league is ongoing and there's a team that's being evicted, I guess that's bad. Yeah.
it is an issue that caused so much debate with Rams and Impis ground situation, because it's been there for a while. But away from Rams and now onto Impis, and we were happy because many of our friends are in Impis, and when the team was promoted back to the Super 10, we're like, oh yes, Impis is back. They're very vocal, very interesting human beings on the internet. But when it gets to the pitch, things aren't working out for Impis. What's up?
Oh wow! I love the fact that
I really want to hear what you're
I
going to say
love
about
the
this.
fact that you had to start with me, Ruben, rather Lewis. But as for Impis, I guess they set targets. Much as I really know every team sets targets. Much as we see them conceding a big score, I guess they always have a target. Say they are to play a team like Heathens, they'll say we're not going to be beaten as many points as these. Okay. So they'll always set a target to be achieved, and it's up to them to always achieve their target. But I think it's already good enough for them to be in the league. It's a very huge achievement, and we shouldn't underestimate it.
In regards to Impis, one thing I should say is, they have been the most active social media brand, from their influencers to the team itself, to the kit they have brought in, with even I think there's even a walking kit just to walk to the pitch, probably, I don't know. But one thing I actually talked to Philip Adraf about with that Impis squad is majority of it is very young at the moment, and now which is actually one of the biggest challenges when it comes to Ugandan rugby. How do you retain these boys for a long time? Because that is a team, if it's kept for like 2-3 seasons, they can be able to actually flourish into a very, very strong side, the kind of Impis that we used to see back in the day with the Romano Guals and everything. But the challenge now is going to be for this season. You have brands that are with you, Giordano, Stings, and everything. So how is it that you're going to be able to at least survive? Because that is the bare minimum I should expect for them. They have to find a way to survive and remain in the top tier league, because that is where all the relevance is. When you want people to look at your brand, no one is going to come at 10 a.m. to watch the Shield League. No offense to the league, but it's the big money is in the top tier league, and that is now what needs to be sorted out. They have to pull a rabbit out of a hat somehow and do it. But ideally it is a very promising squad that can actually do something, and I like the fact that they have heart, but they are setting trend off pitch on how things should be done with other clubs in Uganda, especially with the direction we need to go to.
Whenever I talk about rugby in Uganda, it is always this, people always want to hear about Cobs, Heathens, or Pirates, Warriors, but we actually want to know about the teams that happen to be lying in the bottom half of the table. Because since we are going into the halfway part of the season, we need to understand now that after Rams and Impis, amongst teams below, then there is Shell, Rimila Rhinos. It is safe to say that Shell is
going to ask that.
It is safe to say that Shell is out of this deal, because they haven't been engaging with the team for a while. Of course, save for the Coronation Sevens, where they come in a bit and they pull out, because everything shows that Rhinos are after the downward. I think they stabilized in below mediocrity, and they are now very comfortable, because I believe they're number 9 right now.
I think number 9 if I'm not.
With their only win coming against him, how are they going to survive?
So in the Rhinos case, it's also kind of similar to Impis, but the difference now with the Rhinos is that they are rebuilding from having a team that was actually gunning for the title and actually beating did they beat, or it was a draw against Pirates? So that season when Pirates was
they beat Pirates 3-0.
Yeah. They had a lot of big name players on big contracts, and I think the fact that Shell maybe pulled out, I don't want to really commit myself to those words because I am not in their backroom stuff, but whatever happened, and there was maybe no money, they lost a lot of players. And for any team that is actually, rugby is built around combinations, about synergy of the team and everything. So you cannot expect to lose so many players like they did in the experience of Matthias Ocho, Eric Muller, Scott Olwach, who went to Kenya for some time, then came back to Heathens. You can't expect to lose all those the caliber of that kind of player, and then you have to replace them and expect those let me say kids to fill the shoes there and then. So it's going to also be a building process for them, but they just have to now have a team that's patient with them. Luckily enough, one thing that I've actually appreciated about them even if the Rimula side itself is young, they're able to field even a Chifaru side, which is actually from the games I've been watching from the time I saw it at the beginning of the season and the jokes we used to make about it, they have actually improved, which is good for every team in the league to have a feeder side, and it's very important. And I think if they, of course, also manage to remain in the league, it's very easy for them to grab a sponsor. We just have to make sure the league is somehow more marketable in all aspects, and they'll be able to capture a sponsor and then be able to go back to where they used to be. But for now, it's all about rebuilding, because the squad is majority of it is very young.
I believe you've interacted with Rhinos more often than not, because Cobs and Rhinos do share training ground. So do you have any insight on what's happening to the team right now, or where at least they say they are going, given where they lie right now, and any title aspirations?
I won't say much, because we are always on this other half and they use the other half. But what I see on the training days is they have numbers. They really have numbers.
They
You
always
see
have
them
other numbers, always,
All right.
somehow.
Yeah. So you see them getting down to training very early. They get off the field at 8 p.m. I guess they are putting in the hard yards in training. Unfortunately, like Ruben said, that's not manifested on game day. I won't say much. But I guess they're working hard and they're not resting.
Since I interview much about Rhinos, we are going to hear from you first, of course, about the Hippos, because the Hippos really from last season and the Hippos from this season. I don't know if it's just my my sight or my view or my analysis of the team, but the Hippos from last season isn't the team of this season. This season they look to be a little off the script. I don't know if it is Sogi coming in or the changes in the back room, but I do believe they are regressing. They are lower in terms of caliber as compared to last season.
Okay. When you say low in caliber or regressing on the downward slope, so are you saying that in respect to the game you played against them as
No,
Heathens?
I am saying that in respect to the position they are right now and the points they had 8 games into the season last year.
Okay. I'm yet to watch them play, because I have not watched them play this year or this season. This Saturday at Legends they are playing Cobs, so I'll be there and I'll see what you're talking about. Yes, hope to see that.
The Hippos, I actually think, contrary to what I'm hearing you guys, I actually think, for a person, actually my last game before I messed up one of my ligaments again.
For the second time in 2 days or in 2 months, okay.
Yeah, they're actually an improved side. Why I'm saying they're an improved side, I feel like from the games I've watched and the game we played, they have improved game awareness, ball knowledge, and even they have a structure about the way they play. You see, the thing about being in the situation of going into a league and then trying to consolidate your place in the league, one thing I've realized for the seasons that I've played is that there are seasons that are going to come where things are tough, and there are seasons where maybe Lady Luck will be on your side. But now the thing is, right now teams have realized the challenge that Hippos can bring up, especially in the athleticism. But what Hippos hasn't learned yet is how to manage the game, to see off the game. Because case in point, our game against the Hippos, the Warriors, they led actually at a certain point. I think it was about 20 on like 10. And this was like well in the second half. But for a team that we see ourselves as being in the league longer than them, we're able to collect our points, gather ourselves, not make the silly mistakes and give out penalties, things like that, the important territory step by step. So I think that's what Hippos is lacking, and I think they'll get it over time, because that's something that you cannot buy unless maybe you're going to buy an entire 23 of experienced players. But it's something that you get over time. Yeah, and they'll get it.
Yeah.
I want to believe that Ruben is right and Hippos are on the right path, but away from the Hippos to number 5. Starting last season, Warriors were the team to beat, and at the end they were number 4, a position they hadn't been in for, should I say, forever. Then when it comes to the season, they won the first 4 games. Yeah. They won the first 4 games, and since then it's been loss after loss, and they find themselves right now in position number 6. A very unfamiliar position if we had to go with anything from last season. of course we understand about the teams. Sorry, the players that left and probably a few financial issues that arose towards the beginning of the season. But how do you assess Warriors right now? Position number 6, 8 games into the league, 10 games to go.
Okay. Being that I've watched Warriors play this season, honestly, Warriors is a very good team. They keep the game going, but they don't know how to contain it. So you realize that when they come back from the break, they will not contain the team for the rest of the 40 minutes, okay? So they'll give way and let the other team to run in points. So that will that shows that Warriors still has a bit of work to do around that area. Yeah, so that's what
Ruben, what was the financial implication on this team? Because I know there was a change of sponsorship from Dusupe to now 9 Barrels Whiskey. What did that gap cause?
Definitely, of course, as you got the story of Ugandan rugby is, there will always be some people fleeing when they sense that there are some finances that are lacking here and there. But we were lucky enough to have brought in some young boys as well, though most of them were in high school, so they were not eligible to actually play at the top tier. But I think the challenge with Warriors right now is in the fact that January is never what I've noticed. January is never our month. We usually, even the case of last season, won around December. January comes and then you lose everything. And I think the one of the attributes to this is that with the teams that we aspire to actually compete with, their depth as compared to ours is wanting. We have a team where ideally I should say we have a strict 23, regardless of everything. It's within that 23 that shuffles, but you have teams like Heathens and Cobs that can actually switch within a 40-man squad and actually rest 15 players and then get a team that can still get the job done. Now with us, the 23 have to play, and you see, rugby is a very physical sport. And with the level of conditioning that we have in Uganda, and I'm just being very honest about this, that if you keep playing everyone week in, week out, that's what makes people more susceptible to injuries and everything like that. And that is actually what we are facing right now. We have a lot of injuries in the squad, so there is a lot of improvisation that is being done. The squad that started the season and the squad that's playing now, there is a bit of a challenge. But I assume with the second round coming up, Warriors will be able to get back into the top 4. Now, what we hope for is maybe to keep players fitter so that we can be able to consolidate and remain there, at least worst case scenario, number 5. Yeah, but I'm very confident that they will be able to get back.
Maybe we'll be talking about the top 5, that is Cobs, Hiddens, Pirates, Buffaloes, Mongas. When we get to the real business end of the season, when people are actually competing for the title and all. But we decided to keep this about the bottom 5 right now. So this is going to be yes and no. Do you think Mongas or Buffaloes are going to slope to the bottom half and Warriors or Hippos are going to climb? Yes or no?
No.
So you sure the bottom half will stay the same?
Yeah, sure.
This side?
Tricky. Actually, I want my prediction to be a bit unique. It depends on what the final score of Mongas Warriors is going to be this weekend. That will set precedent. Ruben wants to take us on another segment, but I'll say no and ask you to comment and give us feedback on anything you want today or what you may want us to discuss, because we're trying to make this as unique as possible. But be looking out for the Friday preview show. It will be coming right before the floodlights this Friday. So watch the podcast, get your opinions, leave it in the comments, reach out to us on our social media pages. But of course, Dung has been a very good lad to host. Ruben is always here. I think he's always idle whenever I call him. He comes through. I'm sure again when I call Dung, he will be like where and when, and he will come through. But thank you for keeping it Kratos. Thank you for watching the podcast. Look out for the preview show. It will be coming Friday right before the floodlights, and it will be live. But before then, we are out.